Welcome back to the Stepbrothers. I'm Wesley Clark here with Andrew Hayden. We got some game time, some quotes from Ryan Day, some new uniforms that were released. That's what we'll go over in this episode. We see a classic, Andrew, once again, a big noon with Ohio State and Michigan, plus some other matchups with Ohio State and Michigan throughout the year. But first reaction, yes. Same thing as me. You see Ohio State and Michigan playing at noon, big noon. And what do you think?
What do I think? I mean, I'm not surprised. I'll get your take on the noon games. I actually don't mind them. I just don't. I don't know. I kind of like a noon game. Is the difference of playing at night that much more of like a home field advantage?
I'll say it's not. I don't think it's necessarily. I do think it is more of an advantage because I've been to several big noon games for Ohio State against Michigan State, against Penn State, 2 against Michigan State actually, and then I went to the game against Tennessee. That was ESPN, and that was the loudest game. There was more Tennessee fans than there were Penn State and Michigan State, but that stadium was louder at night. Was 7:30 start than it was
also a playoff game.
Sure, but the thing is, you're talking about a number 2 and number 3 seed going against each other. I think that louder games, night games are louder.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that they are. I mean, this for the students, obviously, doing who knows what on Friday night, not gonna have as much energy for a noon game as they 100%. Would later on. And night games are just more of a rowdy environment anyway. But I don't know that the difference is that great. But obviously Ohio State versus Michigan, no surprises here. Game's been at noon for several years now, and yeah, we'll probably be at noon for a while.
Yeah,
for the years to come.
100%. The whole thing with students, I think, is huge because you're gonna want to go out on Friday. You're playing. The game is the next day. You don't have time to rest. I mean, I like noon games when I'm sitting my ass at home, okay, and I can wake up and 2 hours later.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Game start, but as a student, we had a ton of noon games, and it was the worst. I mean, you're supposed to tailgate. You're supposed to, do the things that you do before a football game to pump yourself up, and you can't really do that for a noon game because you were out at bars the night before. For a night game, you have the entire day. The anticipation is huge. You're watching other good football games that are coming up in that day. So I do think that there's a difference between when you're in person for noon and night games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm talking about more. I think a lot of people who are going to watch the game on their TV are like, oh, no more noon games. I'm like, okay, does it really matter that much?
No, because like I said, you wake up and a couple hours later is the game.
Yeah.
Now we have talked before about what if you lose a noon. I think it was against Oklahoma. No, well, actually no. This is, I think I said to you, against Texas. If we lose to Texas, I'm not watching football the rest of the day.
Yeah, it does make the rest of the day less enjoyable. The rest of the games less enjoyable. I did not watch very much of rivalry weekend after the game this past year at noon.
Yeah, I mean, it does ruin the day. It does.
I do like. I think my favorite slot still might be the 3:30 slot.
Yeah, that is my favorite.
Sun starts to set the second half. You still have the night ahead of you if you're a student after the game.
Oh yeah,
and it's not an early wake up.
You can sleep in and go out the night before. You're going out the same night. 3:30. I agree on that Mark. Now this is something that is probably on both sides for Michigan, Ohio State. And Ohio State does lead the country in most noon games, but if you want to put up that the Michigan one against Oklahoma,
yeah.
Tell me what time.
Let me move that.
Tell me what time this game was last year.
It was at 7:30.
Yep.
Because it was on ESPN. It was on the road in Norman. College game day.
And I'm going to put up this. Ohio State's on the road against another SEC team. They were noon last year, and now they're at 7:30.
Yeah. It's a tougher spot to be in.
Ohio State and Michigan live in a world where their home games are at noon and they go on the road and have to play at night.
Yeah. No, that part of it's not ideal.
I mean, how is that fair?
And Michigan played Texas at noon 2 years ago at home.
Yeah, they did.
And I'm sure when they go to play at Texas next year, it'll be at night.
Of course it will. Yeah. Because the whole Fox and Big Ten, they're obviously in bed together, and so is the SEC and ESPN. And Fox always wants to broadcast Ohio State games, especially if they're playing a top team, and their first slot is at noon. And then they have a slot at 4 p.m., but that's, noon is where you get the most viewership. That's peak for college football. But it's frustrating as a fan.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to go to these games.
Right.
Like we've been talking, like what we're explaining. Obviously, I'm cool at noon as a fan, but it's nice to have just the different environments every once in a while. I mean, Ohio State had 6 weeks in a row where that game was at noon, and they played Maryland on big noon. They played Marshall at noon. Why is there not that they played Western Michigan at 7:30? They played Ohio at 7:30. But these Big Ten games are always at noon, never even 3:30.
Nope.
It just, to me, I find it preposterous.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, like we've been saying, I think from a fan's perspective, I'm fine with noon. But if you think about the home field advantage, right? That's why you play these home and homes, because you get to have the team at home either the first year you're playing or their next year, potential to get a really great win on your schedule. So you want every possible edge that you could have. And from a student's perspective, obviously that would be a night game. I mean, I'll be at Michigan next year, so I would have liked that Oklahoma game to be a night game. I'll be there regardless, but yeah, just how it is. TV deals, unfortunately, don't see it going away anytime soon. So
it's not going away. And there was a report that Ohio State made the most money in terms of media deals. It was around $93 million in the Big Ten. It might have been the most out of any team in the country. If they were not a part of the Big Ten, they would have made upwards around 290.
Yeah.
So around $200 million more dollars than they make in the Big Ten.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah. And that's a lot more than what Notre Dame does with their solo NBC deal. And they're considered the second largest fan base. And Ohio State would have had 80 to 100 more million dollars in their pocket versus what Notre Dame has as an independent. Do you find that alarming? Do you find that fair? I mean, because that money could go to the school, academics, the sports facilities, buildings. What incentivizes you to stay in the league?
Yeah, it doesn't really incentivize you to stay in your conference. I think the expanded playoff, a little bit less now that there's auto bids involved, but like at first, the expanded playoff made it even less of an incentive to stay in your conference. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing teams start to explore that route. I know Notre Dame has no intention of joining a conference anytime soon unless something changes with the structure of college football. But yeah, I know a lot of that money has to divide it, not even just for the TV deals, but a lot of the money that's relevant to Ohio State goes to the Big Ten as well. So that's not the only area where Ohio State is forfeiting revenue there. I mean, like you said, like they're arguably probably the biggest fan base in college football. They have a huge, widely casted net of fans and alumni, as you know. So they stand to benefit more than anyone else from having that revenue just for themselves, for the school.
Absolutely. And there was some, I guess there was like a survey where they had in Ohio State ended up being the biggest fan base. Notre Dame was second, I believe. Michigan or Texas, they were like 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. The landscape of college football is changing so much right now, and there is no end in sight. You're talking about, and we'll get into some things that coaches got into with commitment deals, but these TV deals, I mean, last year Ohio State football, like their Instagram posted, it was like breaking away from like a noon game, and they posted like a graphic. Fox made them take it down.
Did they really? I didn't know about this.
They made it take it down. So that there is no flexibility with a school. I mean, they are seriously locked in.
Yeah.
And you are limited. You have a cap of how much you're going to make. Ohio State, you made like 93 this year. You might make 105, but you're talking about still a $200 million difference in what you could just do this by yourself. Notre Dame now has an auto bid themselves starting next year.
That's right. I forgot about that entirely.
Right.
When I was talking about it. Wow.
And they would do the same. If Ohio State, for example, left the Big Ten, they would do that for themselves. Then you would see Michigan leave, and then Alabama and Georgia leave their conference because they make more money by themselves. I don't know how the legality around distributing the money fairly, but a team like Rutgers and Northwestern are the only teams really benefiting from teams like that from being in the Big Ten. That's why we saw Maryland move from the ACC to the Big Ten, which ended up being a massive move for them, in fact, because the ACC is now suffering with their ESPN deal because it's very cheap versus now they're making probably 3-4 times more, going 6-6 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So I just don't know at what point do teams like Ohio State, Michigan have any incentive to stay in the Big Ten when they have a cap on how much you can make.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. And it's a little bit backwards, right? Like, how much does the branding of Michigan and Ohio State do for Fox? I don't know that Michigan and Ohio State need Fox at this point to get their name out there, and everybody's paying attention. Everybody in the college football world is paying attention to both of those schools. But the TV deals, the TV, the broadcasting networks have all the control, even though they are benefiting from the image of the schools that they represent. So it's a little bit backwards. When you talk about college football as a whole, and its landscape, we'll talk about what Ryan Day said about that. I do think there is change imminent when it comes to the portal and eligibility. Obviously, we saw the 5-5. I don't know if it is being put into place officially, but there's support for it within the NCAA. But as far as TV deals go and networks, I don't think that is going away soon, and I honestly think it's going to get probably worse over the next couple years.
Well, we now see Peacock. We obviously have Peacock doing games outside NBC. We, for the first time, Netflix broadcast their first professional game this year between the Yankees and the Giants, Major League Baseball. A school like Ohio State, Michigan, they could sign. You're talking about Amazon signing. They have a $1 billion deal with the NFL to do 16 games.
Yeah.
Or 17 games, whatever how many weeks they have. $1 billion. You're talking about a school like Ohio State, Michigan that make more money than probably some NFL teams. Got to. You're talking, they bigger stadiums.
Yeah.
And the Ohio State, Michigan have 100,000 fans every single game. And they sell more merchandise than anyone. You could sign a deal with one of those huge companies, Amazon, Peacock, get out of the Fox deal, and $500 million deal right there. And it could be a $5 million deal to broadcast Ohio State and Michigan games, where maybe you flip-flop. 1 week it's Michigan at 7 and the other, 330 for Ohio State, and you flip flop, and both schools get 250. Why wouldn't that? Why couldn't that happen?
It could. All it takes is a check.
Once this whole deal with Fox ends.
Well, yeah, that part of it too.
And I don't know when that is. I think it's 2031.
I have no clue.
2029. But I'm telling you, once that deal runs out, there is no way that Ohio State it's not gonna fight to try to get out of that. Specifically them.
Yeah. Well, at least for some flexibility, if nothing else.
Right. Well, we can go into what Ryan Day said. He had an interview with Josh Pate, and he suggested, you can see right here, 2-year transfer commitments, also suggesting also high school commits. You come into the university and you're there for 2 years. And we've seen that Arvo Reese is a good example of that. He was there for 2 years and he finally was able to start. He won the national championship. He was a backup, and then his third year to start. Because if you're there for 2 years, you're talking about a major development. If you're out of school, I mean, obviously this is with Ohio State, Michigan, you're making money as a backup. And then you get your chance to start. Because if you transfer after 2 years, that means you are definitely not going to start your third year. So I'm fine with that. That's cool. You go off. You can go somewhere else. But like I just said, Arvo Reese, he knew he was going to start his junior year. And it just makes a big difference when you have your 1 year and another school offers you more money, and we just have this circus of players going in and out of the portal every single year.
Yeah. It's a good idea in theory. Here's my pushback. I just don't think you can really enforce a 2-year commitment because of all the non-athletic reasons that a player might have to transfer or to choose a certain school. Like there's a lot more, like not all these players are the majority of these players are not the ones you see on your the On3 account when they post about the transfer portal, the ones making a bunch of money. Like kids do transfer because of a major. Maybe they don't have great relationships with coaches, and they want to go somewhere close to home. I think a better way to go about it would just be just enact a 1 year or a 1 free transfer rule, right? If you want to transfer more than that, you have to sit out a year. And the exception would be if you're a true freshman and you want to transfer, then you don't get a free transfer. You have to redshirt if you transfer after your true freshman year. So it kind of puts high school recruits into being not forced, right? Because there's other reasons to transfer, but it really incentivizes kids staying at a school for at least 2 years. And then if they do want to transfer, they can't just, it's not just you're hopping in the portal to see what's out there for you, to weigh your options, right? You get 1 free transfer, and then you really that transfer really has to be needed or necessary, and you have to be willing to sacrifice a year of playing basically for that to be able to happen. I think that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah, I like that. I can definitely get behind that. I'm trying to. Do you know where Aaron Nolan ended up? Is he still South Carolina?
No. Missouri? That's not right.
Aaron Nolan, he's still at South Carolina. Oh, he's at Memphis. He's at Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Well, so Devin Brown is a good example. He went to Cal, now he's at Weber State. He's just hopping, obviously down the scale of teams. They used to have the sit out a year. I don't know why they got rid of that. I mean, that was honestly perfect.
Or another idea you could have, if you're transferring between levels, then maybe that you don't get that restriction, right? Like if you're going,
that's fine.
If you want to, because kids who want to transfer from D1 to D2 just to play, like I don't think they should be forced to sit out a year. But that's not like that has happened before there was even a portal. Like that happened all the time. Kids, obviously it was not as common for kids to transfer up, but if a kid really shines in a lower level and wants to transfer up, then I think that would be a little less fair to make him sit out a year. But it's the constant portaling between, like, I remember watching some of these or looking at some of these graphics when it was portal season, and see like 4 different SEC schools on the bottom thing.
DJ Finley.
Yeah.
He's had
that. I think is
7 schools.
Yeah, that I think is where it gets very out of hand.
There's a major academic issue, and you're really just allowing him to be there for athletics. I mean, there's got to be some sort of foot that stops him from doing that, because I don't know. You got to commit and do your academics, because 7 years. I mean, he hadn't even finished undergrad. I mean, that is alarming.
And something that I think more and more schools are aware of, and you'll start to see this more and more often. Steve Sarkisian actually was talking about this. Like, academically, these schools do not want to bring in a bunch of like transfers who have 1 year, 1 semester left, and give a degree from their university to someone who didn't really go there. Like that's universities care about the type of people that hold their degrees, the type of image they represent. And so I think Steve Sarkisian said Texas like only will give transfers 50% of their credits. And then, so like if they're a junior, like they only get sophomore worth credits. And if they want to transfer to Texas, they just have to deal with that.
I think he was comparing Texas, and he was comparing Texas to another school.
Ole Miss.
To Ole Miss.
Yeah,
because there's stuff about Ole Miss I was coming about racially profiling players, and that's why Lane Kiffin. I mean, one of the reasons why he said he left was because minority families don't feel comfortable being in Oxford, Mississippi, but that doesn't come up with Baton Rouge because of the diversity. So Texas, another example with the academics. I'm sure Michigan is somewhat like that as well.
Yeah, Michigan won't take anyone above a rising junior unless they're a grad transfer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. Now, most of the players transferring, I assume, are probably sophomores. I tried to look up how many were freshmen. There was no, concrete data on that, but you probably do your 1 year and then you leave. I'm assuming that's got to be most of the transfers. So in terms of what Michigan, Texas, and schools like Northwestern, who are higher on the academic scale, I don't know if that example really shows up that much, but it definitely happens.
What do you mean?
I don't think academics is a huge issue, and I definitely think there's some leeway, especially in terms of talent. Like if you have a high GPA, Texas will take you.
Yeah. I'm saying in the future, I think that is something you'll start to see more like strict rules on. Not necessarily from like the biggest brands who are known athletic contenders, but like a Northwestern, schools like that, you'll start to see, I think, some more limitations in the players that they can take.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll have to see at what point. Like, at what level does NCAA finally crack down on, either you have to set out a year or 2 year, a 2-year commitment, NIL caps on salaries, I guess you can call them. I wonder at what level does it take? Maybe, I mean, you're now seeing schools, $40 million rosters. Do they cap that out, at a certain amount? We'll have to see, because it's just going to grow.
The salary cap thing, I think, is going to change, and I think that's the first thing that's the first thing on the NCAA's agenda.
It's
that takes priority over the portal right now.
I would agree.
My belief,
because I think that would also limit the portal.
Yeah, they go hand exactly. Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Because, like I've said before in previous videos, you have, if Michigan and Ohio State are offering a kid $1 million, for example, then it's going to go back to, how you like the campus, your friends, academic, what major do you want and stuff like that. It will go back to regular recruiting and then just picking over money.
Yeah. And that stuff has to be important.
Again, and I don't blame this. It's the system that has allowed this. So I don't blame a lot of
don't. You can't blame the kids. No way.
Yeah.
You're like an 18-year-old kid being offered millions of dollars and you're expected to just not listen. Legit, no way.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that more when there's actually big news, but that's the speculation on what NCAA is going to do in the near future. If you want to talk about, I know there's stuff you're talking about Joe Burrow that came up recently.
Sure. Yeah. So Bryce Underwood has been in this kind of period between the end of the school year and when players go back for summer workouts. Been working in Southern California with elite quarterback coach and trainer Jordan Palmer. Trains a lot of NFL guys. You can see him here with Joe Burrow. The post is from a couple of days ago, I believe. Bryce also worked with Jordan Palmer. I think it was last summer, or maybe it was like after the bowl game, before classes started up again, or maybe it was like before bowl practice, something like that. He's been with Jordan Palmer before. I think a lot of people are excited about this, right? That you see Bryce Underwood with one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You think, okay, he's really taking this seriously. He's trying to get better. Like he's ready to make a big leap. The thing that stood out to me about this, and the reason I wanted to talk about it, is I just think working with, you see these like NFL trainers and you see the videos. It's a lot of just like throws on air, right? Working on your like mechanics, so to speak, in very like calm, non-chaotic environments. And like people just see the name Jordan Palmer, they see Joe Burrow, and they assume that Bryce is being set up for success. I just don't think. I think what Bryce really struggles with is not the fact that he doesn't know how to throw to certain routes, not the fact that he can't, his mechanics are bad when it's just throws on air. I think he really just struggles with the pressure of a game, and he struggles with pass rush, and he struggles. It's not like he can't see the field. Like it's not like he doesn't know what's going on. It's not like he can't read a defense. When it comes to doing that in real time and the pressure that's associated with that, having to make those decisions fast, that's when he really struggles. Now, obviously, I can't tell from one picture if that's something that him and Jordan Palmer are working on, right? Because you can simulate that if you have multiple coaches and guys that can simulate a pass rush in different chaotic environments. But that's the thing that makes me the most nervous. Is I just don't know. I'm not sure that the way that Bryce Underwood is being coached, not necessarily when he's on campus, but right now when he's kind of in his off season kind of training periods, I don't know if he's focusing on the right things. Because I don't think he knows how to throw the ball, right? He's a 5-star quarterback. You've seen him throw in practice and in warmups, and there's nothing wrong with his mechanics. But when that game pressure comes and that heat is turned up a little bit, then you see things start to unfold. So what do you think?
I mean, it's hard. You're explaining. You're trying to figure out how to teach a guy something that you only can understand under game reps. Yes. You're not going to be out in South California with Joe Burrow with cleats on and a T-shirt and all of a sudden be good in game. It's just not possible. Right. So he can be working out with Jordan Palmer every single day. I still don't think that's going to be as important as being back in Ann Arbor with his QB coach and your edge rushers coming after him. At least some sort of simulation, or when we hit September 5th, and even if you're playing Ball State, it's still some sort of a simulation for when you have to play Oklahoma.
Yeah. I don't even think he has to be in Ann Arbor necessarily, but like I don't know if you've seen the videos of like Caleb Williams working out in high school, and he was working with like a simulated pass rush with his trainer. It was just in like an indoor field house, but he had like guys running at him. He was having to make decisions. Like it was not just what you see on Instagram where it's like, oh, step back, hitch, throw the slant to a guy that you know exactly where he's going, and there's no defense.
And maybe he's doing that. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, I can't say for sure, but I just, like you said, he's in a T-shirt and shorts. Looks like they're just throwing on air. I think looks like they're like assessing his mechanics, which I don't think it's his mechanics all the time. I think you see his mechanics decline because of pressure. It's not because he doesn't have good mechanics.
Well, I think that one of the reasons why, Quinn Ayers was, 5-star, and Justin Fields and Julian Sand, Bryce Underwood were 5-stars, not because they were going to go into college and be generational, is because they can develop into a generational talent.
Right.
Bryce, the expectation for Bryce Underwood was probably what Julian Sand did this year. And it's very rare to do something like that and break a completion percentage. But again, Julian Sand still struggled under pressure as well. I mean, he would miss his tight end constantly. But it's where can Bryce Underwood get? And that's why he was a 5-star recruit. And you can only imagine at a program like Michigan, you're going to work on his needs, and a simulated pass rush is what he needs to do, because it was very apparent in his games, especially against Ohio State.
Yeah. And I think that's something that maybe is just an issue with, I'm not saying it's an issue with practice, but the way football practices are run, right? Especially in the spring, like you're not hitting the quarterback.
Right.
Think about like 7-on-7 in high school. That's where, Bryce Underwood was an insanely good 7-on-7 quarterback. Like he's in so many situations where he knows he's not getting hit. So when it's time to step up and all of a sudden you got guys really flying at you, that's when, it can be a situation you've never seen before. Another, one of the reasons I thought to talk about this was, I don't know if you know who CFB Chuck is.
No.
He's like on TikTok and makes YouTube videos. He's a Michigan fan, but he talks like all college football. He's been to a few of Ohio State's like practices. I'm not sure how he has access to that, but I think he lives in Ohio. And he talked about like a drill they do with the quarterbacks. And he saw Julian Sand go through this drill where they have a bunch of coaches like with, they're like the pads that go on your arm, like make your wingspan really long. They're like running at him. He has to make decisions. Like no rep is the same. He's just reacting, having to stay composed under that pressure. And those are the kind of things I think Bryce needs. Like he can make any throw. I just don't know at this point if more throws on air is going to take Bryce to the level he wants to be at.
No, and last thing I'll say on this, there were some comments about his footwork. I think there one specific, and I think his arm angle as well.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed like it was like a second baseman throw type of thing, a short arm.
I remember all these things.
Yeah. So maybe there is something here when he's working with Palmer, that there is things that need to be fixed, and maybe that's preventing him from maybe his ball release, the timing of releasing the football. I don't know. I mean,
but I don't think it's that his footwork is bad all the time, or it's not like he always throws sidearm. I think he just panics a little bit, and that's when things kind of go out the window.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, you'll have to keep us updated on who else he's working out with, because it is going to be intriguing how he plays. I am very interested, because this is, I mean,
I have no idea. I somehow have less clear expectations than I did for him last year, which is terrifying.
This could really go south for Bryce Underwood,
but also north.
Yep. Well, the last thing we'll talk about, it came out, and Ohio State releases some, the new jersey. Last time they wore a jersey like this was when they played Wisconsin. It was C.J. Stroud, Kate Stover was on the team. It wasn't that game. You can see right here. They altered some of the jersey. They put the heritage stripe that has been kind of iconic with Ohio State for a while, way back in the 60s and 70s. Fans have been asking for a while. I'm a big fan of one color. I loved when they wore all red against Tennessee, or when a team wears all white. I know Michigan has, they have all blue jerseys.
I love that all white though.
Yeah. I like the all black. I know some people don't. I like the Buckeyes. Buckeye that were red and black on the helmet. You still kind of have the gray and the red in there, which is their main colors, and the skull and gray, and then the black. So I mean, I'm cool with this jersey.
I love black jerseys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like this one particularly, but I love black jerseys. They're dope. I think about like Georgia's jerseys; those are absolutely fire.
Yeah.
In a way, I wish. I mean, the issue with Michigan's primary color being like a darker blue is you can't really have black,
right?
As a primary color, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So I believe that they are wearing this against Oregon. This will be
that's tough.
Middle of the season. I pray that it's not noon. I pray. I mean, how are you going to wear black? It's at home. How are you going to wear black?
Yeah, noon game. Bro, where are we at, bro?
Every year I'm like this. Just please,
noon game.
One game.
Just cross out Michigan right there. Put Oregon, noon game. Guarantee it.
All black, fans wearing black, noon. Like, what is this? At noon, right in the daylight. I'm wearing all black. I mean, it just doesn't feel right. And I've been in situations like that where it's like an all scarlet and just really light out. It just doesn't look the same.
Doesn't feel right.
But yeah, I mean, that's what we got all today. Obviously, the kickoff times. Totally disagree with this whole noon crap with the SEC and the Big Ten. Doesn't seem completely fair, but Michigan will have to play a noon game, and Ohio State will have to play at night in Austin this year. And of course, I don't mind actually Ohio State and Michigan playing at noon because they do that with each other. They had to do it last year. They do it this year. It's fine. That I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean, we got the same circumstances there.
Right.
But like you said, I didn't even think about that fact. But yeah, that is actually kind of wild that Michigan and Ohio State both go to play their SEC opponents at night on the road, but then get it at home at noon.
Wild. It's wild. I mean, because ESPN, because of the SEC teams are home, the ESPN gets to have it. But yeah, go follow us on TikTok and X. I posted a video of Sonny Styles on my Instagram, the Wes Clark Show, of what it meant for him to wear Block O and and being teammates with his brother Lorenzen in Columbus. So it was good to catch up with him. And then go on Twitter and all that stuff.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week.